Hey guys, welcome to the channel. We're going to be comparing some plastics today. Bo here, Duke here. We're going to be comparing different plastics across different brands. We've got some MVP, which is my favorite brand to throw, with a couple of exceptions. We've got some Innova. We've got some Prodigy discs. And some Discmania. Oh, we also have dynamic discs. So we've got, well, some few trilogy discs, as we should say, because they're pretty much going to be the same across the. But we're going to compare the different plastics that they have across the different brands. So if you're kind of stuck with one, like me, I really like the overmold. I like the way they fly. I like the way they feel. That they make discs that are 11 speed, which are whatever size they are. I gotta look it up, but I like the way these feel. And so this is my preference to throw. So I was kind of looking for plastics. I really like my Thunderbird. I'm not gonna kick it out of the bag, but I did try to find something similar to the Thunderbird, and I kind of settled on the Volt here. But I really like the Champion, so I got the Proton Volt. So if you're kind of trying to look at, maybe you don't have the ability to get the MVPs in your area or something, your store only carries Innova, and you need a disc for the tournament coming up pretty quick, you can get a disc that's kind of similar to what you're used to throwing. So we're going to start with probably the most popular brand out there, which is Innova. Innova has, of course, their baseline plastic, which is the DX plastic, usually putters or sometimes mids. A lot of people throw DX rocks. I don't really throw Innova, so I don't have anything except for these putters here that I use just for messing around. But it's a cheap plastic. I mean, it's the cheapest plastic you can get, right? And it's not very durable at all. It'll warp really quick. You hit a few trees with it. But that's the Innova baseline plastic. And then you come to what I would say the next one is the Champion one. It's the most durable plastic, but it's not the most premium plastic in my opinion in Innova's lineup. This is a Wraith here, as you can see, the Champion Wraith. This one is a little bit of see-through, but it's a very stiff plastic. Now to me, I don't have very oily or greasy or sweaty hands, and so every plastic to me feels very grippy. I can grab it and it will not slip out of my hands at all. You, on the other hand, you like the difference in the grip, right? Some are like more grippier than others. To you, Joel, it's really bad, and he, one of my brothers, he likes a particular type of plastic, and he uses rosin and whatever else to throw, but it's a little stiffer. It's actually quite a bit stiffer than any of the other plastic available. And this one's got a little bit of pop-top dome. I don't know if you can hear it. But it's much more durable. It also tends to be more overstable than the other counterparts. So if you get an Innova Wraith, which is an 11.5 - 1.3, it's going to fly more like a 0.3.5, right? Somewhere around there. And of course, it's really just depending on how hard you throw it. But that's the Champion plastic for Innova. The other plastic is the Star Plastic. Now, I have the Halo Star Plastic because it looks prettier. Some people say it flies a little more overstable. It does not to me. It's pretty comparable to the Star Plastic, but the Star Plastic is not as stiff. It's, from what other people tell me, it's way grippy. Way more grippy, much grippier, and I guess I can kind of see that it does feel like a little grippier when I'm moving my thumb across it does stick. It is a little softer. It's probably the softest plastic that you can get on the Innova. Now they make the G-Star plastic, which I don't have any of those, but this is the main ones you're going to find available to you everywhere. I also have this turn here, which is a pretty. I just like the Halo Plastic. The Halo Plastic is the prettiest plastic you can get, but it's It's even the rim is not as stiff as you would have it in the Champion Plastic. So that's the Innova lineup, and we're pretty much going to compare the rest of these discs to the Innova discs. Now, Discmania started manufacturing their own discs now, but in the past they were manufactured by Innova. So you get a swirly S-line or an S-line disc, it's going to be Star Plastic. S-line for star, right? You get a C-line disc, it's going to be like Champion, C-line, Champion, right? And what is their baseline plastic?
D-line.
The D-line plastic, of course, is the DX plastic. I mean, it was they were very creative in changing the names of the of the type of plastic, but they're going to be very comparable to the Innova lineup. So this is my Skyrider here. It's in the swirly S-line plastic or S-line. It's just like a star disc. It flies similar to it. Of course, the C-line plastic is going to be a little bit more overstable. The best plastic, of course, is the S-line. I think the best Innova plastic is the Star Plastic or the Halo Plastic. And in the Discmania lineup, S-line plastic is the premier plastic, in my opinion. It's also much more forgiving when you're beating on trees and stuff. So that's pretty much Discmania. The other is Prodigy. Prodigy has quite a bit more plastics. They have, 750G, 400G, 400, just all sorts of plastic, which to me, I can't really tell the difference of too much of them. So I'm going to break it down into 3 different divisions. I'm going to go 400G, which to me, the 400G plastic is Innova Star Plastic, S-line plastic. It's pretty much the same as those other discs. It is slightly grippier than, I would say, like the 400 plastic. The 400 plastic feels just slightly more slick. To me, I can't tell the difference really when I grab it, but I've been told by you guys that it does feel a little bit more slick. And I guess I can kind of feel a little bit how, but as far as stiffness, they feel pretty close to the same. I mean, the 400 is slightly more malleable than the 400G. The 400G is just slightly stiffer, and I believe that goes into why a lot of the 400 plastics have more dome in them than the 400G plastics. Here's some 750 plastic. This is M2 mid-range. My son Jonah, he's only 7, but he likes Kevin Jones, so he throws Prodigy discs. These 750 feels a stiffer plastic. It's definitely not quite. I wouldn't say it's on the level of Champion Plastic, but it's probably the stiffest plastic. 750G, probably the stiffest plastic that Prodigy makes. Here's one of the Kevin Jones discs here. Definitely the stiffest plastic. I would liken it to probably Champion Plastic or C-line plastic, but it's just not quite as it's stiffer on the edges, not quite as soft here in the middle, but these aren't thrown very hard, so they're almost brand new. The here's another 400G D3. This one feels, this is a D3 Max. It feels more like the Star Plastic, but as you'll notice on the 400G plastic, it's, you'll get some that will have dome, but more likely on the 400 plastic, more likely they come pretty domey. My D1 here does have a little dome on it, but not, I have another D. Where's your D1, dude? Oh, I have another D1 around here that isn't very domey, but that's pretty much sums up. Did I miss any plastics for Prodigy? I don't throw Prodigy, so I don't really held up. I'm just trying to kind of give you what I have in my inventory here, and kind of compare it to something, so that way, if you like Prodigy, kind of figure out what kind of plastics you want to throw. Then of course there's the Trilogy line, which consists of Lattice 64, dynamic discs, and West Side discs. Now the baseline plastic for these is going to be the Prime Plastic, or also in what is it called?
Origio Plastic. Origio Bear.
Oh, okay, yeah. The Origio and the West Side disc, it's the same plastic. It's everything's the same, but you'll notice that it's pretty stiff plastic, but it's not flexible at all. It will warp even with weather and time. They're good beginner discs. They're cheap. They're like $10 a piece for these discs when you're first starting out, which is why I have so many. Why I had so many dynamic discs when I started. The plastic that I have here in dynamic discs is a lucid plastic, which is kind of like the Opto plastic. It's the closest thing to Star Plastic, S-Line plastic that you'll find, 400G plastic in dynamic discs or the Trilogy lineup. It's the same thing. It's going to be soft in the center. The rim, of course, is going to be stiffer, but not as stiff as you would get like in the Champion plastic. This is supposed to be the most premium plastic in that lineup, and it really is. They tend to fly. I just don't know if it's just dynamic discs or not. They tend to fly less stable than the numbers indicate, but they are pretty good plastic. This is my Pioneer. I got this Mist Stamp one here. This is probably one of my favorite fairway drivers to throw. It's overstable. It's pretty beefy, but it will take the torque on the forehand and will fade back every time. It's a pretty good disc. This is really just kind of the feel of the disc. We're gonna in another video. We're gonna go out to the field and just throw them, so you can kind of get a sense of how the different plastics will fly. I have a lot of the discs in the same plastic, so we'll kind of give you an indication of how this disc flies in this plastic as opposed to another plastic. But some discs I don't, so you're gonna kind of just see how they fly in that regard. Where's your trust? I have this Trust here. This is the Royal line. The Royal line is really the best plastic that you can get in any of those discs, I think. This one, is signed by Emerson Keith when we went and saw him at a tournament here. But this plastic it's very grippy. It's flexible, but it's durable. Now we haven't had these for a long time because they're not. They're fairly new, but this line of discs is probably the best you can get in the Trilogy lineup, which I like that one there. Here's an Opto, which is kind of the same thing as the Lucid that we were talking about earlier. This is a Sapphire. The Opto is the Latitude 64 version of Opto. It's the same thing. You can see here that it's got good flexibility, but it's really durable plastic, and the most grippy plastic that you can get. So this here is closer, I would say, to Star or 400G plastic. Now we have the Opto Air. The Opto Air plastic is made with micro bubbles in the plastic, which allows them to make pretty light discs. This here is a diamond. It's from the Easy to Use line of Latitude 64, and I believe this one is how much does this one weigh?
142, I think.
142. So it's a pretty light disc. They don't make these Opto Airs too heavy. They make them, they're designed to be lighter, but it's still great plastic. But they're really light, and you can fling these discs here. Next, we're going to talk about the Discraft lineup. Discraft is what my boy Duke here likes to throw. He prefers ESP plastic, but he's got several different plastics depending on what he wants to throw, of course, and that's how you're gonna really decide how you're gonna throw. Most of my 9-speed discs are in very stiff plastic, like Opto or Champion, and that's the same with Noah here, aka the Duke. His Raptor, which is a 9-speed, he throws in Z plastic. The Z plastic is probably closest to Champion or the 750 plastic, 750G, or Proton Plastic in the MVP lineup. It's a stiff plastic. I mean, you can compare it next to my Thunderbird here. Where's my Thunderbird? And you're gonna see that. I mean, my Thunderbird's pretty broken in because this one here is brand new. We just got it at a tournament this weekend, and this one here I've been throwing for quite a bit of time. But you can see like they both have the same type of malleability, or I don't know how you would really describe it. They both have the same type of flexibility, and the top, of course, the rim is going to be super tough, but it's a very durable plastic. It's not as grippy to some people. To me, every plastic is grippy. It grips. But some people, they say it's too slick for them. It doesn't have enough grip to it, especially with sweaty or oily hands. But this is the Z plastic. Then we have ESP plastic. The ESP plastic is closest to like a Star plastic. And I keep going back to the Innova because it's the most popular one, and you can find those pretty much anywhere, and so you're going to find a lot of Star plastic. The ESP plastic is closest to that, with the same flexibility, the same grip. They're all pretty much designed in the plastics to kind of mimic the same feel as any other brand, in order to kind of get you to throw the discs in their lineup. The titanium one, I haven't thrown it at all. I haven't even grabbed it. The titanium one is, what do you think, a little more stiff?
I think it's a little more stiff.
Yeah, it's a little stiffer, but it's I would liken it to probably like a really nice broken in Champion disc. This is the Undertaker we just got from the Foundation discs. Pretty neat. We got a couple. That way, in case you throw one in the water, we have a spare. Then we have the Crystal Flex. The Crystal Flex is just like it sounds. It's a flexible disc. It's super grippy. It's not quite ESP. It's not quite titanium. It's very gummy. It's really how I could describe it. It's a gummy plastic. But the Zone, he prefers the Crystal Flex in the Zone, the titanium and the Undertaker, the Z and the Raptor, which is 9-speed, and then his Zeus and Hades and those other drivers, and the Buzz would be, which is the mid-range, in ESP plastic. And then they have this Jawbreaker plastic, which is really unlike any other plastic out there. It does warp pretty good if you bang this sucker into the chains a lot. If you're good at putting, you're going to need to get a new putter quite often, because they do warp pretty bad. Of course, you could, heat up some water, not too hot, set it in there, and then set it upside down and put some books or whatever else on top of it, and it'll restore the shape of the disc. But you can only mess with the shape of plastic for so long before it starts warping permanently. But this one here it just feels like, I don't know how to describe it. How would you describe it? Light, or I don't know.
Kind of feels like Star, very similar to XT.
Oh, the XT, okay. Yeah, the XT is really a lot stiffer though, and not nearly as grippy. But it's kind of, the XT is the overmold plastic, or Innova, and Innova's attempt at it. It's an attempt. It's just pretty straight flying disc though. But the Luna, I feel, is more, or the Jawbreaker plastic's more. It's not really anything like it out there, but it's still a good plastic. Now, MVP, which I'm gonna have more to say about just because I throw them more, has a little bit more plastics in the lineup. The baseline plastic is going to be your Electron Plastic. There's your Electron Plastic here. Electron. Then there's your Electron Firm Plastic. There's Electron Soft. But this is, I would say, the best baseline plastic is definitely an MVP plastic. This plastic here is better than the Prime plastic. It's better than the DX plastic. It's better than D-line. It's just the best baseline plastic you can get. They do break in, but it takes them quite a bit of time to break in. I've been putting with this one and throwing this one for a while, and it's still holding true to the line, to the numbers from the factory. You know, I forgot to mention that there are other, besides Discraft, that have a putting line of plastic, like the Latitude has the 0 line, 0 hard, 0 soft, 0. This is just a really hard plastic for practice putting, to make sure that you still have a putter for years of practicing. But anyway, back to MVP. That was the Electron, is the baseline plastic. Then you have the Proton Plastic. Proton here is more like the Champion lineup. It's pretty stiff. You know, they make them see-through. They're almost like a Champion disc. Except these do not fly more overstable than the Neutron Plastic. I would say sometimes I get a Neutron that will fly more overstable than the Proton, but really they fly pretty similar in my opinion. Whenever I get them, here's another Proton. This is a deflector. I bought the deflector in Proton because I thought it would be more overstable, because I wanted a pretty beefy mid, but it flies pretty overstable. It flies pretty true to the numbers, but the Proton Plastic really feels like closest to Champion Plastic, maybe like 750 plastic. It's grippy to me, but I mean a lot of people don't like it. Say it's not as grippy, but I think it's pretty grippy. Then we have the Neutron Plastic. The Neutron to me is the best plastic on the market. I mean, everything's grippy to me, but I mean it's grippy. It's pretty stiff. It takes a long time to get broken in, so it's going to fly true to the numbers from the factory for a very, very long time. And it's not too stiff though. It's very soft here in the middle. It's just a premium blend of plastic, and you know, the overmold's always going to keep the. It's not going to be as stiff as some of the other plastics out there. Whenever you make that big fat rim, so you have the nice plastic here with the consistent rim of the overmold. So no matter what plastic you get, the overmold's going to have the pretty consistent rim, which is one thing I like about the MVP. And they fly very consistently. Here's another Proton. And, you know, the Proton, you know, you'll see that it's still going to have the same, well, this little slightly stiffer, but that's also talking about a 9 versus a 14 speed. There's the Cosmic Neutron, which does fly a little bit more overstable than the Neutron Plastic, but I think the reason is because, and this is just what I've heard, that they come from a different plant, and so the process probably isn't as consistent with another location. But this disc here, I bought it because I have a couple of other different photons, but I really like this mold of disc. I like the rim size, everything about it. Whenever I either, you know, power grip, and I can't get my pinky in the power grip, so this is how I power grip. The 11 size rim feels a lot better to me, and then whenever I'm throwing my forehand, it just feels better. So what I did is I have plenty of photons of different plastics. This is a Cosmic Neutron. It's, you know, like I said, one of the best plastics out there on the market. This is a fission photon. Now, kind of like the Opto Air, the fission photon's made with micro bubbles to make the plastic lighter. But what I like about MVP is you can get the disc in up to max weight in this plastic. What that does, that allows the the rims can actually be heavier than the middle, and so it's going to fly pretty stable. So I have this Photon here at 154 grams, I believe, and this one here at 168. And this one flies significantly more overstable. Of course, this one's pretty broken in. You can't even read anything on there, but you can kind of make out the Photon. You can make out the Elaine King on there. Fishing Photon. This one, you'll notice whenever I throw this one, it'll turn quite a bit, but because of the mold of the disc being a Photon, it will always fade back reliably, unless I just throw it on anhyzer. Now, if I'm talking about throwing it flat, when I'm talking about throwing most of these discs. This one here, same deal, and then I have, of course, the little bit beefier one. And one thing I'll notice, you'll get more dome out of the fission ones. Here's a wave. You'll see you get more dome out of the fission ones. This one, once it breaks in, it's going to pop that top a little bit. And you will on the Cosmic Neutron or Neutrons. They're going to be flat as a board, right? But I don't have any plasma ones. I've grabbed and thrown plasma ones before. I'm probably going to get a plasma entropy here pretty quick as soon as they get back in stock. But to me, MVP's my favorite, and I don't know if it's because of the overall, but because of the plastics. I like the fission plastic and the way it flies, and how you can get 4 or 5 different plastics in a single disc, and kind of throw that same mold over and over again, have the same feel, the same disc, do different things in flight, which is one of the reasons I like the MVP. But what's your favorite plastic?
ESP.
The ESP. What do you like about the ESP?
Just has a lot of grip.
A lot of grip. How does it fly compared to the other ones? Does it fly like Star Plastic, or how does it fly?
I'd say it's like Star Plastic, because like the Buzz, it flies really true, but it does have some stability, but it doesn't have like as much stability as like a Z would.
So the Z's are a little bit more overstable. The Z plastic is going to be more overstable than the ESP plastic, and that's typical. The stiffer the plastic, and I'm no physicist, but what I think is that the stiffer the plastic, the more it manipulates the wind, and the softer and the more flexible the plastic, the more it allows the wind to manipulate the disc in flight. So of course, when you're squeezing, when you're throwing, when you're turning, that disc is cutting through the wind. The stiffer the plastic, I mean, if you throw something that's soft and something that's stiff through the wind, the stiffer plastic is going to cut through the wind. It will allow the wind to manipulate it less because it's stiffer, and so that's why I think that they fly a little bit more stable. But that's one thing I like about MVP. MVP will update the numbers. If you see the numbers right here on this Photon are 11.5, -1, 2.5 on the fission. I mean on the Neutron. But if you look here at the fission one, you'll see that the numbers are. Oh, let me get that in there. Make sure you can see. 11.5 -1.5. 11.5 -1.5, 2.5. So it tells you this will fly with a little bit more turn, and it does. And so that's one thing I like about it. Now they do it on all of them, but they do it on my favorite disc, so that's good enough for me. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention also the Fusion Plastic. Fusion Plastic in Latitude 64 dynamic disc, that lineup is the most like Star Plastic. So if you want to get a plastic, well, I think would be the best plastic to have, I would say Star Plastic, Fusion Plastic, Neutron Plastic, Royal Plastic, or the 400G plastic would be the plastic I would recommend. It's the most premium plastic, grippy, durable plastic. It has it's not the highest marks in all of them, but it averages out to have the highest marks when you compare them all, which I think is the most premium plastic. So if you're going to buy something, I would look for something that's comparable to Star Plastic, something that's comparable to Neutron, something that's comparable to ESP Plastic, and 400G. Now, we're gonna throw these discs so you can kind of see how they fly compare, and you'll see that the stiffer discs, stiffer plastics will fly slightly more overstable. Of course, once you beat in a disc and you break it in, it's going to fly slightly less stable, but some discs will beat in quicker than others, like the star plastic. But wait for part 2.